Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
There'll now be a moment for silent prayer or meditation. Thank you very much. Please be seated.
Recording in progress.
May I take this moment and remind the delegates that the rules, in particular, sub-rule 21, 22, and 23 of Rule 103 shall apply in this sitting. Before we proceed, I would like to take this opportunity and welcome the Minister of Higher Education, Honorable Nkabane, as well as the MECs who are here with us in the virtual platform, as well as the SALGA representatives in the House. Honorable Delegate, I will now allow an opportunity to delegates to give notices of motion. Also to remind the delegates that in total we have 20 minutes allocated for these motions. I do have the list of speakers before me that have made an indication that they would love to give the notices of motions. First, honorable member on my list is Honorable Mokwele from the province of Limpopo, who's our acting chief whip today.
Thanks very much, Chair, and welcome back in the House. I hereby give notice that in the next sitting of the Council, I shall move that the Council debate the World Rural Development Day, which takes place on the 6th July to recognize the importance of rural development and the role it plays in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, and reaffirm the global community unwavering commitment to the 2030 Agenda of Sustainable Development. To acknowledge that the World Rural Development Day and the commitment to join efforts in working tirelessly to comfort the disproportionate burden of poverty, hunger, and exclusion borne by rural communities, especially women, indigenous people, and the youth, whose resilience is too often overlooked, serve as a vital platform for reaffirming our dedication to amplifying rural voices, galvanizing development initiatives, and renewing the world collective promise to leave no one behind, not even the most remote and forgotten corners of the earth. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mokwele. Your notice of motion will be printed in full in the next order paper. May I remind the front desk to time the speakers. We are now moving to the next speaker, Honorable Medupi from Northwest.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I hereby give a notice on behalf of the African National Congress that in the next sitting of the House debates the rising number of repeat house breakings, with criminals returning for replaced valuables or things they could not steal in the first break-in. Also note that according to insurance companies, the number of repeat break-ins is increasing, and this might be because of criminals who were successful in the first instance. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honorable Medupi, and accordingly, your notice of motion will be printed in full in the next order paper. We're now moving on to Honorable Aris.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters that the Council in its next sitting debate the lack of autism spectrum research investment done by the government of the day. On a daily basis, numerous countries increase their research capacity on autism, this to formulate and understand of a diversity of the spectrum, to be able to respond adequately to the needs of autistic children and persons, and to devise adequate educational material and learning environment. Furthermore, numerous medical interventions are taught as interventions, but lack of evidence subjects parents of autistic children to opportunism and fraud. This requires sufficient intervention from the medical industry in the country and other relevant stakeholders to indulge in intensive and consistent research projects. I so move.
Very much, Honorable Eris. The notice shall be printed in full on the next order paper. We're now moving to Honorable Peters.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The United Democratic Movement moves that the House, on its next sitting, debate the ongoing and prolonged delays in stipend payments to education and general assistance nationally, which have persisted for extended periods despite the repeated assurances that this problem would be fixed. This leaves thousands of workers without their much-needed income and undermines the vital support they provided for schools. I so moved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Peter. We are now moving to Honorable Pala.
Thank you, Chair. I hereby give a notice that in the next sitting of Council, I shall move that this August House note with concern the resurgence of right-wing populism in the body politics of South Africa, which is evidently linked to international attempts to undermine the democratic order and maintain the status quo of the apartheid colonial legacy of racial inequalities, that this populist stream is driven by some political parties with ideologies rooted in the apartheid system of white supremacy and privilege to the exclusion of the indigenous African and Black majority, believing that this populism and any other race-based populism undermine the constitutional vision of a free, a single African nationality united in diversity, will therefore, in the next sitting of this August House, call for the debate on the resurgence of right-wing populism and its dangers to democratic consolidation. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honorable Pala. That then brings us to the end of the notices of motions that we have received before us. And accordingly, this notice of motion will be printed in full on the next order paper. We will now proceed to provide honorable delegates with an opportunity to move motions without notice. And again, we've got 20 minutes to do just that. I do have the speakers list before me. I will then start with Honorable Mukweli.
Chair, I hereby move without notice that the Council knows with profound sadness and grief the passing of Honorable Zamatimu Nogutula, a member of the National Council of Provinces representing KwaZulu-Natal under the banner of the Condolences Party. Chair, Honorable Ngobo served with distinction and utmost humility, driven by an unyielding passion of justice, equity, and advancement of our democratic values. Further notes that as an activist and public representative, she dedicated a life of uplifting the community of Fulweni and various parts of KwaZulu-Natal and advocating for the transformative change in our society. Acknowledges that Honorable Ngobo's voice in the NCOP was always one of the courage, respect, compassion, and conviction in her work and championing the plight of her community. Further acknowledge her unwavering commitment to the people of KwaZulu-Natal her thoughtful contribution to the parliamentary discourse, and her tireless efforts to join national efforts to build a democratic nation founded on the values of dignity, equality, and freedom. Take this opportunity to extend our heartfelt condolences to her family, friends, us colleagues, and members of the MK party for their loss, and convey the appreciation of the Nonwa family for all the wishes, prayers, and support that they have received from her parliamentary colleagues, members of the NCOP, particularly from the chairperson of the council, the whip of the committee, and the deputy chairperson, and a political party, and the people of KwaZulu-Natal. I so move, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chief Whip. The question before the House is whether we accept the motion. The motion is duly accepted. However, I also want to indicate, honourable members, that sometime next week or next week or so, we'll allow each party to come and make the statement around the issue of one of our own who has passed on, so that we afford each party an opportunity to express their condolences. Thank you very much, Honourable Chief Whip. We are now proceeding to Honourable Gotso.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby move without notice that this Council notes with extreme concern the non-fulfillment of the undertaking given by the Minister of Police in this House almost 2 months ago, that extraordinary measures would be implemented to strengthen the anti-gang unit in the Western Cape. Notes with concern that the Western Cape Provincial Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General Tembisile Patakile, has not responded to follow-up correspondence or calls for clarity on these extraordinary measures, and that no such measures have yet been implemented on the gang-ridden Cape Flats, where people live in fear every day. Calls on the Minister of Police and the Provincial Police Commissioner to immediately implement the extraordinary interventions as undertaken in this House in response to the DA's calls to restore safety, dignity, and justice to gang-affected communities. That this House stands with the people in communities that are terrorized by gang violence and recognizes the tireless efforts of the dedicated men and women in blue of the South African Police Services who continue to confront gang-related and other serious crime on the ground every day. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honourable Gotso. Honourable members, do we accept the motion as tabled?
Objection, Chair.
The motion is defeated. We are now proceeding to Honourable Mananiso.
Thank you, Chairperson. Allow me to rise without notice on behalf of the ANC that this August House notes with great sense of appreciation the action by Gauteng Premier Honourable Panyaza Lesufi to make public the report on lifestyle audit of senior officials in the Gauteng provincial government and the committed action against the officials who failed the audit test. Believing that this action to make the officials whose lifestyle audit are not consistent with their legitimate sources of income face the consequence management will go a long way towards a clean and ethical governance. Therefore, calls upon the August House to express its gratitude to Premier Panyaza Lesufi for this bold and courageous action, and further calls on all premiers of the other 8 provinces to follow suit. So I move.
Thank you very much, Honourable Mananiso. The question is whether we accept the motion as tabled.
Wait.
The motion is duly accepted. The next motion is from Honourable Peter.
Thank you, Chair. The United Democratic Movement moves without notice that the House notes with grave concern the growing crisis of police misconduct across South Africa, particularly in the Eastern Cape, where the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, IPID, has received over 4,466 complaints against SAPS officers since 2020, including cases of murder, torture, rape, corruption, and assault. UDM recognizes that this alarming trend of unchecked abuse has been compounded by severe institutional backlogs, with IPID currently sitting with nearly 15,000 unresolved cases nationally, and only one operational officer serving in the entire Eastern Cape, despite the province being allocated 7 offices on paper. UDM notes the tragic case of Lulameka Xhaka, a 25-year-old agriculture graduate, shot dead in front of his family by police officers in February 2025, in what IPID has confirmed as a case of mistaken identity, with no arrest or suspension to date. UDM calls upon the Minister of Police and the Executive to urgently present a plan to capacitate IPID, resolve its backlog, suspend implicated officers with immediate effect, and reform SAPS oversight structure as a matter of constitutional priority. I so moved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Peters. Are there any objections to this motion? The motion is duly accepted. Honourable Finis.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I hereby move without notice on behalf of the African National Congress that the Council note with a sense of pride that the South African national cricket team, the Proteas, won the International Cricket Council's Test Championship against Australia in London on Saturday, 14 June 2025. Recognize that the win was through a superb team effort and was built around excellent performances by the batsmen in the second innings. Also recognize the brilliant batting by Aiden Makram, who scored 136, and the captain Themba Bavuma with his 66 runs. Congratulate Coach Conrad, Captain Bavuma, and the team for making South Africa proud after beginning the tournament as underdogs. I so move. Chairperson, thank you.
Honourable Finis, is there any objection to this motion? None, thank you. The motion is duly accepted. Honourable Makesini. Honourable Makesini. She is not here, neither on a virtual platform. We'll now proceed to the next speaker, Honourable du Plessis.
Thank you. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby move without notice that this House extends its deepest condolences to the family, loved ones, and friends of Joseph Nonwa Kuboni. Notes that Joseph, aged 40, was brutally tortured, murdered, and thrown on the side of the road in the early hours of the morning on 19 April 2025. Further notes that the investigation into his murder has not progressed beyond a half-hearted autopsy report. His murder, like so many, should not go unnoticed or uninvestigated. He will be missed by his family, his friends, and his political family. As a dedicated activist against corruption in the community that he loved, Protea South in Johannesburg, we have lost a good man, a gentleman, and a man with integrity. I so move.
Thank you, Honourable du Plessis. Is there any objection to the motion?
None.
The motion is duly accepted. We're now moving to Honourable Langisa Nodada.
Thank you, Chair. I hereby move without notice on behalf of the African National Congress
that the council note with a sense of sadness that the death toll in the Eastern Cape floods has now risen to 102 bodies recovered. Also note that this comes amid heavy rainfall, flooding, strong winds, and snowfall that have battered large parts of the country, with the Eastern Cape being the hardest hit. Also applaud the government for declaring the Eastern Cape a national disaster in terms of the Disaster Management Act, Act number 57 of 2002. Further calls on the provincial government to extend crucial psychological support to displaced families, bereaved communities, and schools affected by this loss of learners. I so move. Thank you very much, Honorable Dangisa. Any objection? The
None.
motion is duly accepted.
Chairperson,
Yes.
Chairperson, sorry, Honorable Aris, my humble apologies. Honorable Mandisa just have connectivity problems. If you perhaps can allow us to do it, I will do it.
Honorable, she should have indicated though, we've not received anything
Was having
from.
connectivity problems.
Can
Chairperson.
I finish, please? I allowed you unceremoniously to do that. So the processes are she should inform the front desk, and accordingly, they will relay the message to me. So we will proceed with the speakers as listed on the speakers list. Honorable Skierkogel.
On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby move without notice that this council notes that the Free State is the heart of South Africa, not only by geography, but the warmth of its people. In the Free State, Botapila, people first is not just a slogan, it's lived out every day through a simple kom vir 'n koppie koffie, where the spirit of Ubuntu is not taught in textbooks, but felt in warm welcomes and shared meals. When we say, let's braai, no one leaves empty-handed, and the community is the fire that keeps us going. To grow a sustainable economy, we need to grow our small towns, and the Free State is built on the backbone of small towns. Tourism is the catalyst for economic growth, and where the economy grows, jobs are created, opportunities rise, and the communities thrive. We applaud the initiative of the Central University of Technology, which on the 19th and 20th of September will host Free State Uncovered, a tourism indaba aimed at igniting the tourism and hospitality sector in our beautiful province. Free State Uncovered will showcase our unique tourism offerings, events, hospitality assets, bridging the gap between small town businesses, national investors, the media, and the public. Free State Uncovered will create a platform that connects local tourism enterprises with the broader market, empowering small businesses and fostering growth in both urban and rural corners of the Free State. We call on all South Africans to explore, engage, and experience the Free State, the province that South Africa is centered around. I so move.
Thank you, Honorable Skierkogel, all the way from the province of Free State. You've mentioned that more than 10 times. The question then before the House, do we accept the motion? We can't defeat this one more than 10 times. The motion is duly accepted.
Yes.
The next motion is from Honorable Baines.
Thank you, Chairperson. I hereby move without notice on behalf of the African National Congress that the Council note with a sense of disgust the arrest of a 47-year-old woman and a 48-year-old man in Bloubergstrand in the Western Cape for the alleged sexual abuse of their two daughters, aged 3 and 8, earlier this month. Also note that the two face multiple charges, including the production of child sexual abuse material, child pornography, rape, sexual assault, and sexual grooming. We applaud the South African police, who led a multidisciplinary team comprising members of the National and Western Cape serial and electronic crime investigations units, officials from the Department of Social Development, supported by the FBI and Homeland Security investigations. We call on the police to leave no stone unturned to make sure that these suspects face the full might of the law. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honorable Bain. Are there any objection, honorable members? None. The motion is duly accepted. Honorable Teza.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters that the Council notes with great sadness and reverence the untimely passing of Mr. Fezekile Faku, one of the most outstanding iconic jazz, trumpet, and flugelhorn player, a humble giant of the African sound who carried in his tone the voice of the land, the ancestors, and the eternal soul of our people. Further note that the late Butfeya Faku was not just a musician, but a mystic whose sound carried the stories of our forebears across oceans onto global stages, echoing through the African continent with a hauntingly soulful, Phrygian brilliance that defied language but spoke to spirit. Acknowledge that he was a rounded musician and a mentor, a fountain of knowledge and discipline from which countless generations will draw inspiration, practice, and artistic rebellion against the world that often turns a blind eye to the spiritual labor of artists. Further acknowledges the loss of a teacher who taught not only sound and harmony, but the pain of being ignored by politicians who only flock to our theaters and festivals and jazz festivals to cleanse their guilty conscience, while the artists suffer in silence and poverty. Remember his lamentations about this country, how this country continues to betray its artists, and how perhaps if we honored musicians the way Cuba honors its people, Butfeya and others wouldn't have been cherished while alive.
Honorable Teza.
While alive and not praised.
Your time is up, and would request that you make submission of that, and then it will be placed on the order paper. Thank you very much. Honorable Fanny.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. No notice, Chairperson, we can pass.
Thank you very much. Honorable Pina.
Thank you, Chairperson. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby move without notice that this Council notes with concern the collapse of the Messina Makadu SEZ project. For almost a decade, it is still in a stagnant state without creating the necessary job and economic opportunities for the residents of Limpopo. According to the MMSEZ Board's own submission, 579 million in contracts have been awarded and 155 million spent. Yet only one project, the internal roads, reached partial implementation. And that too was halted due to litigation and non-compliance with SEZ standards. We call on the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition to investigate the financial and governance irregularities within the project. I so move. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Pina. Is there any objection, honorable members? No objection. The motion is duly accepted.
Honorable Chair, point of order.
Yes, Honorable Balenos.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. You seem to have skipped Honorable Adrianse. She's number 10 on the list for motions.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so sorry about that. Honorable Adrianse, I'll afford you an opportunity before Honorable Noah.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby move without notice that this Council notes the ongoing sewer and sanitation crisis in the Northwest Province, which has resulted in widespread health risks and environmental degradation, and a decline in the quality of life for residents, especially in rural and peri-urban communities. Acknowledges that many municipalities, such as Matlosana, Dietsebotla, Sannieshof, within the Northwest Province, are unable to provide adequate sewer services due to poor infrastructure maintenance, lack of funding, and mismanagement. Calls upon the National Department of Water and Sanitation, in partnership with provincial authorities, to conduct a comprehensive audit of sewer infrastructure and service delivery in the Northwest Province. Develop and implement an urgent intervention plan with clear timelines and accountability measures. Allocate necessary funds and technical support to upgrade and maintain sewer systems, and request the Minister of Water and Sanitation to report back within 30 days on the measures undertaken to resolve the sewer problem in the Northwest Province. I so move.
Thank you much, Honourable Adriansi. Is there any objection, Honourable Delegates? The motion is duly accepted. We're now moving to Honourable Noe. Honourable Noe is neither in the House nor in the virtual platform. We're now proceeding to Honourable Badenhorst.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby move without notice that this Council notes and congratulates the KwaZulu-Natal MEC for Public Works and Infrastructure, Member Martin Meyer, and the Western Cape Minister of Infrastructure, Minister Tasha Simmers, on the signing of a groundbreaking Memorandum of Understanding between the two provinces on the 30th of June 2025. Further notes that this MOU marks a significant milestone in the intergovernmental collaboration, particularly between two provinces that are home to the nation's three largest ports and jointly contribute a substantial share of the national GDP. Recognizes that this partnership seeks to coordinate joint responses to infrastructure challenges such as flooding, planning disruptions, and revitalization needs, while fostering innovation, skill sharing, and effective governance. Acknowledges that the MOU reflects a commitment to cooperative governance in the truest spirit of Section 41 of our Constitution, and affirms the constitutional imperative to work across spheres and borders in service of our people. Welcome the joint site visit to Menzi High School in Umlazi, where an iconic infrastructure upgrade is turning a dilapidated school into a modern multi-million rand center for learning, symbolizing the tangible potential of collaborative service delivery. And finally, commends both MECs and the departments for demonstrating that their visionary leadership, cooperation, and good governance, we can indeed build a capable state that delivers infrastructure to improve our lives. I so move.
Thanks, Honourable Badenhorst. Is there any objection to this motion? The motion is accepted. Honourable Modise.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. I hereby move without notice on behalf of the glorious African National Congress that the House knows the following: that on June 26, South Africa celebrated 70th since the real national consultation took place, which gave birth to the Freedom Charter. This national consultation was to be known the whole world as the Congress of the People, which was hosted in Kliptown. That in the Dube Township, not far from Kliptown, the Khumalo family gave birth to a son who later became the poster boy of South African sports and named him Dr. Sin Theophilus Khumalo, better known as Dr. Khumalo. That on June 25, this house hosted the president of Ama2K, Relebohile Mofokeng, accompanied by Thandi Fipaza, Offense Madam Chair Lady Matuka, and Nolofatso Mohon, who were here for the whole sitting of that day. And that chair, yesterday, June 30, marked both my mother and my sister's birthday. And lastly, we welcome you back, Chair, from your sick leave. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Modise. Any objection? The
None.
motion is duly accepted. Thank you very much. All members, we have come to the conclusion of the motions without notice, with the exception, of course, of two motions without notice of Honorable Makesini and Honorable Nonwa. And accordingly would request that in the next sitting, they will still be given an opportunity to table their motions without notice. Again, can I request, honorable members, if you are not going to be in a setting, please do make prior arrangements so that we know and know who's going to alternate on your behalf. It cannot just happen abruptly during the proceedings. So I hope members would just do that fine. Thank you very much, honorable members. We are now moving to the next order of the day, which is the policy debate on budget vote 17, higher education appropriation bill, B16 of 2025, which is a section 77. I do have the speakers lists before me. The first speaker on my list is the Minister of Higher Education, Honorable Nkabane. You have 20 minutes to present your speech. Over to you, Honorable Nkabane.
Honorable Chairperson and members, it is my honor to present the Department of Higher Education and Training budget vote for the 2025-2026 financial year. Our commitment remains steadfast to build a post-school education and training system that is inclusive, equitable, and responsive to the needs of our young people and our nation. We started this academic journey with the reality of the cessation of the United States funding for South African universities as well as researchers. The unexpected decision had devastating consequences for the South African higher education system, and out of 26 public universities, at least 13 were affected by the termination. However, there is reprieve as for the current medium-term development framework cycle. The department's budget has increased at an average annual rate of 4.4% in nominal terms. 2025 marks the first year of implementation of our 5-year strategic plan for the period of 2025 to 2030. Amongst others, during this period, our overall strategic focus areas will be on improving education outcomes and skills. We intend to complete phase 1 of the University of the Northwest Mining Campus by 2030, work to refurbish the erstwhile Giyani College of Education into a state-of-the-art campus of the Tshwane University of Technology, with first student registration in the year 2026 academic year, which is currently underway. Honorable Chairperson, in terms of the sector allocation, the following comments on selected budget items bear relevance. The budget of technical and vocational education and training for the current academic year is 14 billion rands, an increase from 13.1 billion in 2024. And this budget is projected to increase to 14.7 billion next year. We remain committed to reposition TVET colleges as a first choice for various careers of our young people. For too long, vocational skills were seen as second class, but today we are saying loud and clear, becoming an artisan is not a backup plan. Artisanal training and development is a backbone of a thriving economy of the 21st century. Our National Skills Development Lever, consisting of SETAs and the National Skills Fund, have a combined budget of 26 billion for the current financial year, and this budget will increase to 27.8 billion in the next financial year. The National Student Financial Scheme budget for the current academic year is 48.7 billion rand, and it will increase to 51 billion next year and 53.4 billion in the year 2027. While this is not sufficient to meet the growing demands for access to higher education, we continue to seek efficient ways of allocating limited resources to ensure that no deserving learner is left behind in South Africa. Overall budget for university education increases from 91.7 billion in 2024 to 96 billion in 2025 and to 104 billion in the year 2026 academic year. In the current academic year, we acknowledge that there is 1.4 billion deficit on the university budget, which is caused by the US freeze. We continue to work with the National Treasury to find a sustainable adjustment to university budget. In the meantime, we stand ready to assist our universities with necessary concurrence to raise funds from donors as well as financial institutions. In February, Chairperson, this year, I announced the appointment of the new board of NSFAS, the board which is comprised of highly qualified individuals with the expertise necessary to promote efficiency, accountability, as well as transparency within the organization. The board is led by the chairperson, a woman, Dr. Karen Stander, an esteemed scholar and academic. The board has commenced the recruitment process for the chief executive officer and other executive leadership positions. These steps are critical to ensuring that NSFAS can effectively fulfill its mandate. NSFAS is currently finalizing its annual financial statements and is exploring the possibility of utilizing prior year surpluses to fund additional students. Efforts are going to secure additional funding sources to support student registration and related costs, and these actions reflect a concerted effort to resolve registration delays and to ensure continued access to higher education for affected students. In the 2025 academic year, NSFAS is supporting approximately 811,000 students across various universities and TVET colleges. Of these, university students are sitting at 580,000 and TVET at 231,000. NSFAS has initiated direct consultation with various institutions to assess their capacity to accommodate NSFAS operations within their premises as efforts to decentralizations, because our drive is to make sure that our offices and services are accessible. Honorable members, I want to remind you that the first decision that this administration undertook through recommendations by Verman's report was to terminate the direct payment service providers, which were more like a middleman between NSFAS and students. And this was after several complaints from students that were not receiving their payments on time. And this process has been subject to tribunal process. Additionally, honorable members, NSFAS has been actively engaging with the Special Investigating Unit regarding the termination of its current head office lease agreement of 2.5 million rands per month, while NSFAS will comply with any court rulings on this matter. As publicly announced, the organization will need to seek alternative office accommodation and decentralize its operations accordingly, because we want to be accessible. Following concerns regarding accommodation payment processes, NSFAS conducted a comprehensive legal review on the contracts of student accommodation intermediaries who are charging us 5% fees, and we believe that this amount can also fund some students who are vulnerable, who want to access post-school education and training in South Africa. We are awaiting for a report for us to make a determination in this regard. This is our commitment, honorable member, to clean governance, to accountability and transparency, and to root out corruption, any potential corruption and maladministration in our post-school education and training system. Honorable Chairperson, we are committed to repositioning and transforming the National Skills Fund to target youth unemployment in line with our MTDP. The Fund's Strategic Plan 2025-2030 and the 2025-2026 APP serve as a roadmap for impactful skills development, ensuring alignment with national and ministerial priorities. The National Skills Fund will continue its support to the Human Resource Development Council of South Africa and the National Skills Authority in steering national skills and human resource development strategies. In the State of the Nation address in February this year, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, announced a set comprehensive measures to further support persons with disabilities as part of transformative initiatives to empower over 10,000 persons with disabilities through tailored training programs, stipends, and specialized tools with an investment value of R1 billion. Cabinet considered the approach in implementing the initiative as a national initiative that will be funded through the National Skills Fund and implementation to be led by the Ministry for Women, Youth and Persons with Disability, but obviously integrating with some of the relevant departments like your Employment and Labor and Small Business. Further, the Presidential Youth Employment Intervention, a key initiative aimed at reducing barriers and expanding employment and training opportunities for young people, will receive priority during this MTDP. We are prioritizing young people, in particular those who are not in any training, not in any education, and not in any employment opportunities. The National Apprenticeship and Artisan Development Strategy 2030 is being implemented to address skills gap and increase the number of qualified artisans in South Africa. The strategy enables easy access to skills training through simplified training with a funded ARPL program, providing a shorter process to access trade testing. The National Skills Fund will continue to fund artisan development and contribute to National Development Plan target of 30,000 by 2030, and NSF is targeting to report on 5,000 artisan, a budget of R1 billion across various apprenticeship programs. Honorable Chairperson, funding for the Just Energy Transition Skills requirement will be provided through bursaries, scholarships, occupational programs, and work-integrated learning programs. The NSF has set a target to fund 1,000 beneficiaries for the Just Energy Transition Skills Development Initiatives, covering occupations across the Just Energy Transition value chain, including technicians, tradesperson, specialists, managerial, and elementary level roles. Honorable members, this year, South Africa takes over the presidency of the G20. The Department of Higher Education and Training will continue to lead in collaboration with the Department of Basic Education, the G20 Education Working Group, which will include hosting of the remaining education working groups in KwaZulu-Natal, as well as the province of Mpumalanga of the Rising Sun. We'll work towards the conclusion of the concrete outcomes and deliverables to be presented to the G20 meeting of the Ministers of Education scheduled to take place at Sikukuza in the Mpumalanga province in October this year. We have identified the 3 priority areas for deliberation in the G20 Education Working Group, which includes the following: quality foundation learning, the role of the early childhood care and education to improve the quality of foundational learning. Secondly, the mutual recognition of qualifications in a global context. And third, the education professional development for a changing world. We will ensure that our higher education institutions and post-school education institutions play an active role in the G20 presidency through participation in seminars covering a variety of priority areas and topics. In May 2025, the seminar on the mutual recognition of qualifications in a global context took place at Sun City in the Northwest Province. In partnership with the UN Girls Education Initiative and the Department of Basic Education, we are today currently hosting the G20 Education for Gender Equality and Peace, Advancing the Gender Transformation Education for All. It is in KwaZulu-Natal as I'm speaking here today. Recognition of qualifications and skills across borders is no longer optional, it is mandatory. This significance of mutual recognition of qualifications and skills is critical to foster academic mobility for student researchers and lecturers, labor mobility for skilled workers, policy coherence across countries and regions, economic resilience through a more agile workforce. I am proud, Chairperson, to share that the department is leading South Africa's Just Energy Transition Skills portfolio. As part of this work, the department will officially launch the Just Energy Transition Skills Desk and the National Just Energy Transition Skills Advisory Forum on the 29th of August 2025. The Just Energy Transition Skills Desk will serve as a national coordination hub within the department, tasked with aligning skills planning, policy and implementation efforts to support the just energy transition. It will work in close partnership with government departments, industry partners, labor's education and training institutions, and communities to build a more inclusive and agile skills system. Honorable Chairperson, to change the size and shape of the post-school education system, we are reviewing and amending the Higher Education and Training Act, Continuing Education and Training Act, National Student Financial Aid Act, and the Skills Development Act of 1998. This statutory review will ensure that we respond effectively to evolving challenges of higher education towards improving teaching and learning in the 21st century. The skills development system will continue to prioritize key areas such as artisan development and workplace-based learning programs. Over the past 5 years, South Africa has produced more than 95,000 qualified artisans, but we are not telling our stories, and largely through the sector education and training authorities. Furthermore, over the past 3 years, the skills development system has facilitated over 266,000 workplace-based learning opportunities, and this is particularly important given that youth unemployment between the ages of 15 to 24 groups remains alarmingly high. These learning programs are therefore not only critical for skills development in our country, but also serve as a key levers in addressing the challenges of youth unemployment and economic exclusion. As we commence with the medium-term development planning cycle, we have set a target of 5,000 workplace-based learning opportunities, inclusive of learnership, internships, as well as work-integrated learning over the period. Specifically for the 2025-2026 financial year, we aim to facilitate 90,000 workplace-based learning opportunities. In support of artisan development, our goal is to produce 20,000 qualified artisans in 2025, contributing to our broader annual target of 30,000 artisans as envisaged in the National Development Plan. Hence, you have seen yesterday, I was opening one of our trade centers in Gauteng in Soweto. Furthermore, for skills development programs, we have set a 5-year target of 355,000 opportunities with 70,400 target for the 2025-2026 financial year. Honorable Chairperson, the department continues with its commitment to build an inclusive, responsive, and transformative post-school education and training system. To this end, we affirm our support for the community education and training sector, which is a vital pillar in our efforts to empower out of school youth and adults with second chance learning opportunities. In my previous budget vote in 2024, Honorable Chairperson, I focused on the objectives of massification and diversification consistent with the white paper for post-school education and training. To support better coordination in our application processes, Honorable Chairperson, the draft Central Application System Bill is finally en route to the Speaker of the National Assembly following Cabinet approval. With all these statutory amendments, we hope to improve the efficiency and performance of the post-school education and training system in South Africa for the common goal. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We are now proceeding with the next speaker on the speakers list, which is the chairperson of the Select Committee on Education, Science and Creative Industries. He's got 15 minutes to deliver his speech. I'm now inviting Advocate Fanny.
Honorable Chairperson of the House, let me also welcome you from your, as you have already been welcomed by Honorable Modise. Also, let me take this opportunity to greet the President of this country, the only CIC, Honorable Matamela Sitakeko Onjengawe.
Ndibulise, Honorable Minister, Deputy Ministers, members of this august house, distinguished guests, and fellow South Africans joined us on various digital platforms. Ndingalibali ukuyibulisa umzi wenkosi kuba kaloku thina singamaphakathi wazo, asingabantu ngaphandle kwabo. Ndithi singabantu bakho kumkani. Honorable Chairperson, let me take this opportunity to borrow from amazwi of our former president, uThabo Vunyelwa-Mbeki, apho asikhumbuza khona ukuba ngabana sesikule ndawo nje sivelaphi xana siza kujongana nalomba wokuxoxa le budget. Uthi ke ngamafutshane, today as a country we keep an audible silence about ancestors of the generations that live tearful to admit the horror the former did, seeking to obliterate from our memories a cruel occurrence which in its remembering should teach us not and never be inhuman again. Uzama ke ukusilumkisa ngamaxesha onke xana sime kule ndawo okanye sime kwezi ndawo singayenzi impazamo yokufuna ukusuka okanye sikhanyele imvelaphi yethu. As we are celebrating also the 70th anniversary of the Freedom Charter, asingeze sikwazi ukulibala indibaniselwano as a country apho izimvo ezazohlukene zazidibene. Kwaqulunqwa iziqulunqo, esinye seziqulunqo ezikhona kulomgaqo-nkqubo we-Freedom Charter uthetha kanye ngalomba sijongene nawo namhlanje. Uthi the doors of learning and culture shall be open. Zombini ke ezi quotes zibalulekileyo are more important than ever, as unemployment in this country has been at its highest since the dawn of democracy. Youth unemployment is currently sitting in the north of 46% amongst those between the ages of 15 and 34, and mostly affecting Black youth and women being the most affected. The research has shown us that young people with post-school education are more likely to be employed than those with minimal or no formal education. Amongst the 46% unemployed youth, only 9.8% of those unemployed have post-matric qualifications. This means that for us to get more young people into employment, we need to focus our energies into ensuring that these young people have adequate skills and qualification for jobs now and of the future. This is where the importance of the Department of Higher Education and its entities can play an important and meaningful role in assisting in tackling the country's triple burden of unemployment, poverty, and inequality. Honorable Chairperson, South Africa has some of the best institutions of higher learning in the world, with 9 of universities ranked in the top 1,000 globally, according to the recent quantity survey rankings. This positions them well to produce top quality graduates and research outputs that will have a global impact. Our job as parliamentarians is to ensure that our new universities are functional, inclusive, and cost-effective, not to howl, honorable members. The ANC-led government recognized the importance of access to higher education in overcoming high inequalities, especially for the poor and marginalized students. The ANC government also listened to and acknowledged the call made by students during the hashtag Fees Must Fall protest, and in response, increased the budget for National Student Financial Aid Scheme, NSFAS, from 9.8 billion in 2017-2018 financial year to a staggering 55.4 billion in 2025-2026 financial year to find the poor and missing middle students in higher education and training. Furthermore, expenditure in the higher education sector is expected to increase at an average annual rate of 4.8% from 137.3 billion in 24-25 to 158.1 billion in 27-28 financial year. The substantial investment in higher education and NSFAS funding reflects the ANC-led government commitment in ensuring that no student is left behind, irrespective of their socio-economic status, and this should be commended. This sustained investment in post-education is part of the ANC broader commitment to a transformative developmental education system, understanding that it is not without hurdles. Honorable Chairperson, we further note the reduction in the number of targets in 2025-2026 annual performance plan of the Department of Higher Education from 90 to 51. In response to the reduction of targets, the Select Committee will ensure that reduced targets lead to improve success and efficiency, enhance responsiveness and improve quality than quantity, and more digitization in the work of the department. The reduction targets must ensure that the department is able to achieve more with less, and in programs must be impactful on the ground. Therefore, we hope that despite the reduction, the sector will continue to address inequalities, especially through prioritizing funding and performance-based planning. Honorable Chair, given the state of South African economy, it is important that institutions of higher learning maintain the efficiency in the use of allocated resources. This is also in response to the recent cuts in funding for research and development by the US government. I agree with the Honorable President that we are not going to budge to any form of pressure. We are not going to do that. Where the university here in Cape Town alone is reported to have lost about 1.7 billion in research funding. This calls on all of us as a nation to start coming up with mechanism to be self-reliant when it comes to funding our own research, development, and training, as external donors are no longer guaranteed. They want to bully us. We're not going to succumb to that. We expect to see more of the allocated budget being used to improve quality of our programs that will equip students with critical skills needed by the economy. Given the increasing number of matriculants passing and entering the higher education system, we expect a large portion of this budget to also focus on expanding and maintaining infrastructure, both universities and TVET colleges, to cope with the increased demand of higher education, as well as student support. The NDP enrollment target, the NDP enrollment target for university is 1.6 million by 2030, and this target is within our reach. What is of particular concern to us as the ANC is the large discrepancies in funding between universities and TVET colleges. According to the 2025-2026 budget allocation for higher education, universities are set to receive just over 96 billion, and TVET colleges just under 14 billion. This is a serious concern given the NDP targets of producing at least 30,000 qualified artisans annually by 2030. We want to see more funds being allocated to TVET colleges to ensure that the country has more plumbers, electricians, boiler makers, and diesel mechanics. Our teaching and learning machinery and equipment in TVET colleges must be upgraded so that our students are taught how to fix and assemble electric vehicles and AI robots, which are the future. We also need to remove the mentality of perceiving TVET colleges as inferior to universities and educate our communities that TVET colleges provide quality education and skills as equal as university. Honorable Chairperson, given that over 90% of the department budget will be transferred to universities, NFSAS and SITAS, TVET colleges and National Skill Fund, we as Select Committee will strengthen our oversight in the monitoring and evaluation of this transfer. We will ensure that the funds are used for their intended purposes. And where there is corruption, we will work together with the Auditor General to ensure that consequent management is adhered to. Any misuse of these public funds is considered stealing the future of deserving child who didn't receive support during their studies. Chair, although research shows that graduates are more likely to find employment than some which only matric certificate or lower, we are particularly concerned over the growing scourge of unemployment graduates roaming around our street. This is an injustice for these young people who spend over 15 years of their lives getting an education only to find out they can't use their skills in the real world due to lack of job opportunities. We call on SITAs working together with private sector to intensify their efforts in ensuring that our graduates have access to internship opportunities. Call on department to address the issues of skills, especially skills mismatch, and ensure that students attain skills needed in the economy. The department must also strengthen the partnership with private. The departments must also strengthen partnership with private sector to unlock the deployment of artisans and TVET graduates through workplace-based placement and work-integrated learning opportunities. And lastly, but not least, Chairperson, we need to intensify our efforts in reviewing our labor market regulations in relation to the appointment of foreign nationals in position where South Africans are skilled and qualified to work in. It cannot be that in a country with high youth and graduate unemployment, foreign nationals are highly visible in sectors such as wholesale and retail trade, construction, hospitality, and informal sectors. To our understanding, foreign nationals may only help to be appointed in areas where South Africans may not have the necessary skills to perform those functions. Furthermore, we may need to strengthen countries' quotas on the maximum number of foreign nationals each company can employ. We know that these companies are really violating and are refusing to comply. There must be stringent regulation that must be put in place for them to respond to the call. Let me close my speech with the quote from the longest-serving president of our glorious movement, Umbutho Wabantu, the African National Congress, President Oliver Tambo, who had this to say, and I quote, "The power of education is the key to unlocking the potential of the oppressed." With that being said, the People's Movement, Umbutho Wesizwe Wabantu, Inqwelo Emasondo-sondo, Honorable Chairperson, the ANC support this budget and hope that it will inspire confidence, improve the capacity and skills needed in the country, and advance the interest of the nation. Ndiyabulela ukwanda kwaliwa ngumthakathi. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Enkosi Chairperson, siyabulela nathi. Thank you very much once again, Chairperson. We are now proceeding to the next speaker from the Democratic Alliance, Honorable Anniversaries.
Honourable Chairperson, let me just before my time starts also welcome you back, and I'm glad you're feeling better. Okay. I'm back on. Thank you. Okay. Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Minister, colleagues and fellow South Africans. As George Washington Carver once said, education is the key to unlock the golden door of freedom. South Africans demand this freedom. It is time for President Ramaphosa to fire Minister Nkabane and clean out the ANC's criminal network from the heart of government. The DA will not allow Parliament to be treated with contempt, and it will definitely not tolerate corruption disguised as governance. The facts are stark and unforgiving. In 2019 to 2020, the targeted achievement stood at 78%. DHD achieved only 51.8% of its target last year, 57 out of 110, despite spending an astonishing 99.9% of its budget. This is a clear indication of what we are losing. Over the period of 2019 to 2025, the overall target achievement has averaged only 63.5%. Meanwhile, on average, the budget that was spent is 99.5%, highlighting a troubling disconnect between resource allocation and tangible results. This pattern exposes a department that is failing to deliver on its core mandate, despite pouring vast sums of public money into its operations. A glaring example, of course, is NSFAS, the National Student Financial Scheme, as highlighted in a recent Daily Maverick article. A lifetime and a lifeline with challenges. NSFAS embodies hope for countless students, but is plagued by mismanagement, fraud, and wastage. Over 128 million has been lost since 2017 through fraud and maladministration. 166.9 million has been wasted on office leases with the Seaview and 18.6 million on parking bays that should have gone directly to students. This is a national disgrace, but is merely one of the failures under our minister's watch. And to date, the contracts are still in place. These failures have real devastating consequences. It reveals a department that is unable to deliver results. Another failure in this minister's dossier is the recent scandal involving the appointment of ANC-connected individuals to the Sectoral Education and Training Authorities, the SETAs. The minister brazenly appointed her comrades to these crucial boards, an act of blatant cadre deployment intended to serve political interest rather than public good. When this list was leaked, the minister swiftly revoked these appointments, attempting to cover her tracks. But the deception did not go unnoticed. The minister's refusal to take responsibility was equally brazen. She shifted blame onto an independent appointment panel, refusing to disclose its members. Only under pressure did she reveal some of the names. The panel she named was not independent at all. It was littered with cadres, proving she lied to Parliament. To make matters worse, the minister named Advocate Terry Mutau as the panel chair, only for him to publicly dispute her claim, further exposing her dishonesty. This scandal is not isolated. It underscores a pattern of corruption and reckless governance that must be rooted out. The minister's action demonstrates a blatant disregard for honesty, transparency, and accountability. Traits that South Africans deserve to have in a minister. We cannot allow this to continue. Our education system, our future, cannot be hostage to political patronage and dishonesty. The time for accountability is now. A member of cabinet must be held to the highest standards. The Minister of Higher Education has failed to live up to those standards, and the action must have consequences. The upcoming appointment of CETA board chairpersons will serve as a critical test. Will these appointments be rooted in integrity and proven governance, or will they once again be political patronage designed to serve narrow party interests? We stand at a crossroads. The urgency of this moment cannot be overstated. We demand transparency. We'll enforce accountability to accelerate job creation. Every day that passes with weak leadership is a day lost for our youth and our economy. Our young people are waiting. They want jobs, they want hope, and a government that finally takes responsibility. We must ensure that funds allocated for education and skills development are not diverted into the pockets of the corrupt, but that they are used to create real jobs, nurture entrepreneurs, and develop leaders who will grow our economy. The time for empty promises and talk is over. The time for decisive action is now. No more cover-ups, no more excuses.
Honorable Andriense, may you take your seat? Honorable.
No, thank you, Chair. I know.
Which point of order are you raising on, Honorable Modise?
Will she take a question?
Okay. You can take your seat, Honorable Modise. Honorable Andriense, can you take the question?
Unfortunately, my clients are in the car, Your Honor.
Unfortunately, he can't take the question. You may proceed.
Thank you. No more excuses. It's time to rise with a backbone, to act decisively, and to end this trail of corruption once and for all. Our nation's future depends on it. Thank you.
Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. We are now moving to the next speaker, Honorable Aris from Economic Freedom Fighters.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson. I did hear the Honorable Jean's hart hier. Julle skaam om deel te wees van hierdie GNU, né? I can hear that. Yes, thank you very much. Julle is in a problem. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, today we must confront this harsh realities face university students across our country. As while higher education is a constitutional right and a tool for transformation, millions of students across the country still face daily struggles that threatens their academic success and dignity. As the economic freedom fighters, we stand firm in our commitment to accessible, quality education for all. And we are the only political party that advocate for a transformative approach that prioritizes education as a fundamental right and a cornerstone of development in this country. And the only organization committed to ensure that all students have access to education and that no student is denied access to tertiary education due to lack of affordability or has their dignity denied due to a lack of accommodation. However, the current budgetary allocation threatens this ideal, leaving many students in dire circumstances. As such, we reject budget vote 17 of higher education. We reject the budget of a minister who, like her colleagues, is not another example of a failure in leadership, which we as a country are subject to. Minister Numbusle Nkabani, you have failed to lead the nation to the realization of adequate higher education. You have failed the responded to the concerns raised by students across campuses in all provinces. You have failed to account for the politicization, cadre deployment, and corruption that has become the defining future of all ANC relationships with public institutions. You have failed to account for appointments that are glaring examples of political patronage, where state institutions intend to empower youth and workers are turning to ANC deployment zones for local cadres and family members of the ruling elite. And you have failed to appoint the NSFAS board. Year in and year out, this department is caught napping and always inadequately prepared to receive thousands of students at the start of the academic year. Every year, thousands of students face challenges with university placements, accommodation, living expenses, and fees, which are all deeply tied in austerity and the real cuts to government spending, which undermine access to higher education. To this day, thousands are still excluded from institutions of higher learning because of the failure of this department in NSFAS. And in provinces such as Limpopo, students are forced to live in shacks, while NSFAS pay 3,500 per month for supposed accommodation. The NSFAS, once a beacon of hope for underprivileged students, face significant challenges. With recent report indicated that the projection reduction in NSFAS funding is 5 billion between the current financial year and 2026-2027. NSFAS, while essential, is under strain. And thousands of students face delays in funding approval, resulting in late registration or dropping out. Funding shortfalls also mean the allowance are paid late, affecting food, rent, and learning material. This forces students to resort to borrowing from loan sharks or informal lenders at extremely high interest rates, plunging them deeper into debt and anxiety, and leads to student protests, debt accumulation, and shattered dreams. This inability of NSFAS to streamline its processes and ensure timely assistance cause immense frustration and despair amongst those that depend on for this support. While the missing middle students who don't qualify for NSFAS but can't afford tuition are often left without support. Now, while the government has introduced a loan scheme targeting this group, the support remains inadequate. Minister, support the missing middle. Develop comprehensive funding models to cater to students who fall outside the NSFAS criteria but still cannot afford tuition, as these students often resort to part-time work, compromising their studies and accumulate unsustainable debt, often under exploitative conditions, affecting their academic focus and performance. This is not resilience to be celebrated. It is a survival in a broken system, a painful reality that some students, particularly young women, enter into transactional relationships with for financial support. It is a response to desperation where dignity is compromised just to afford basics like food, toiletries, and data. This exposed them to exploitation, STIs, and abuse. Budget cuts has always impacted universities' infrastructure. Many institutions, especially historically disadvantaged ones, struggle with outdated infrastructure, limited their resources, and poor internet connectivity. Infrastructure needs often overlooked at TVET budgets, leading to inadequate facilities and resources for students and staff. Infrastructure challenges in the TVET sectors include inadequate student accommodation, limited access to technology and resources, and disparities in infrastructure between different regions and institutions. These challenges impact student learning, performance, and overall access to quality education. In addition, many institutions, particularly in rural areas, lack adequate technology infrastructure, including internet connectivity and digital resources, hindering access to online learning platforms and research material. The demand for student housing far exceeds supply. Government funding for new residents is shrinking, while private accommodation is unaffordable. TVET colleges, which are crucial for skills development, have not been spared either. They face budget cuts of 970 million in 2024-25 and 1 billion 25-26, a reduction that hinders the college ability to provide quality education and training, limiting opportunities for students seeking vocational pathway in exorbitant youth unemployment. Chairperson, it is concerning to note how there has been a consistent absence of care from the GNU government and zero political will in dealing with the matters in education in this country, and how the consequences of austerity do not end at graduation. Even those who have managed to complete university employment prospects remain bleak. The billions allocated annually to post-school education and training are rendered ineffective in the government refused to invest in job creation in critical sectors such as health, education, and essential public services. And in conclusion, I would like to end off by stating that we also reject this budget of a department which presides over student debt crisis that have left over 300,000 young South Africans unable to graduate and receive their degrees, certificate, and other qualifications despite having completed their studies. The EFF has on various platforms consistently highlighted how student debt denies thousands of young people the opportunity to advance their personal and professional life despite having fulfilled all academic requirements, and how students who diligently pursue education with hope of securing a better future for themselves and their families are often left without a qualification they work hard to earn, and how exclusion from a workforce due to outstanding fees not perpetuate inequality but also undermine the country's economic potential. The EFF been at the center of the fight for free, decolonized, and quality education. And as such, we have in the National Assembly gazetted the Student Debt Relief Bill, which is a call for justice, fairness, and excess demand that the government assumes responsibility for the outstanding fees owed to institutions of higher learning by those who have completed their studies and cannot receive their academic certificates. The EFF therefore encouraged the Minister of Higher Education to take guidance from this bill to cancel all student debt. The promise of education must not be a privilege for a few, but a right for all. If we are serious about building a just and a prosperous South Africa, we must protect our students. And we once again plead with the Minister to increase NSFAS funding, restore and enhance financial support, and ensure deserving students can access and complete the tertiary education. Fully fund higher education, invest in infrastructure, allocate sufficient funds to expand and upgrade universities and TVET facilities, addressing overcrowding and improving learning environment, support the missing middle, develop comprehensive funding models that cater to students who fall outside the NSFAS criteria but still cannot afford tuition, strengthen TVET colleges, recognize and invest in vocational education as a vital component of the economy and ensuring that this institution are well-resourced and accessible, provide safe and decent, affordable accommodation and meals to our students, prioritize student mental health and campus safety, close the digital divide, expand campus employment opportunities, and provide basic income support for students. Tutors should focus on education, not on survival. Until that changes, we fail the youth of the country, and therefore, we as the economic freedom fighters reject this budget. Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much, Honorable Eris. Order, honorable members, order. We are now inviting Honorable Majola from Umkhonto Wesizwe.
Honorable Chair,
Majola.
honorable members. Yes, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair.
Yes, you can proceed, Honorable Majola. We can hear you.
Honorable Chair, before the network disappoint me, can I proceed without the video? The network here is not reliable at all. Madam Chair, I'm raising on behalf of Umkhonto Wesizwe, led by President Kehlehlekisa Zuma. Madam Chair, we have noted the Department of Education and Training allocation for 2026 that it stands at 142.7 billion. That is contained in this vote we are dealing with today. However, Madam Chair, over 104 billion of the total budget of the department, as it also confirmed by the minister, she confirmed that 104 of this budget is locked into a transfer to the universities, NEFSAs, and entities. While critical areas, Madam Chair, like TVET colleges, community colleges, and artisan training are starving with funding. Further, Madam Chair, we've noted the cut of the 27 billion over the medium term from the crucial areas, including the university infrastructure grant, TVET infrastructure grant, even NEFSAs. Madam Chair, for instance, the TVET infrastructure grant has collapsed nearly 492 million in 2023-2024, just to 97.6 million by 2026-2027. Madam Chair, this is not called a reprioritization at all. but this is a deliberate struggling of opportunities for the poor youth. Madam Chair, the billion rands in this budget vote, Madam Chair, flows into the major universities in Gauteng and also in Western Cape, while the poor and rural provinces like Eastern Cape, Limpopo, KwaZulu-Natal, Northwestern Free State remained neglected, Madam Chair. Let me be specific. Northwest alone has 58% of the unemployed youth. The Eastern Cape has got 54% of the unemployment youth. Madam Chair, in KwaZulu-Natal, Mgungulovu TVET College campus is still a ghost project. Limpopo Kiane campus, TVET College was delayed for years. Small towns, Madam Chair, in Free State do not have post-school learning options. This is not a theory, Madam Chair and honorable members. It is a daily realities of our youth who travel a very long distance, hungry and broke just to get education. Getting into the Auditor General's report, Madam Chair, revealed a shocking failures, Madam Chair, arising from fruitless, wasteful expenditure, a jump from 6 million to 50 million in just a single year. Madam Chair, this is a real serious back step of the department where the fruitless and wasteful expenditures just jumped by 44 million in just a single year. Madam Chair, the TVET colleges have a backlog of issuing the certificate, leaving thousands of graduates unable to prove their qualification. Can you imagine, Madam Chair, a family that has struggling everything to make it sure that the child gets to school, but at the end of the day, this is how the system is failing our poor because they cannot even get their certificate. Now, Madam Chair, let us talk about NEFSAS. Madam Chair, this is a lifeline for the poor student. Instead of helping, it has become a scandal. The investigations exposed the network of looting the NEFSAS tenders. A parliament report found that NEFSAS spent 5 billion to unqualified students. Meanwhile, a real student are left starving. Madam Chair, this budget, I've just heard the chair of the committee indicating that with regards to the NDP targets, we are going to meet it. Madam Chair, the NDP committed to have 25 million TVET students, 1.6 million university students, and 1 million community college students by 2030, which is a 7-year time to come. Yet today, Madam Chair, we are hardly to arrive at 1.1 million university, around 700,000 in TVET college, and only 300,000 in community colleges. Madam Chair, I doubt whether we will make this target. We will miss by miles. Instead of fixing the government cutting funding further, Madam Chair, the community education and training sectors received just 2.9 billion. That is less than even 3% of the department's budget, despite serving the poor community and giving the second chance of the learners, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, we are definitely not supporting this budget. As a MK party, we fully believe that the funding should be redirected to expand the university, the colleges, that in order for every district to have a fully equipped campuses and restore the 27 billion card and build where our people lived. Madam Chair, instead, also we propose that we invest in the modern infrastructure and especially in the rural areas. No student, Madam Chair, we want to see studying under the trees or under the collapsed building. Madam Chair, we need to prioritize artisan vocational training. South Africa needs 300 new artisans annually, but we only produce about 20. Madam Chair, towards my closer, the MK party, as I indicated, we don't support this budget. It's not poor orientated. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Majola. Honorable members, before I proceed to the next speaker, I just want to remind the House of the expressions that are unparliamentary. One amongst that, calling another member a liar. There has been that insinuation that was made earlier on that the minister is a liar. That remains unparliamentary. You can't just say that willy-nilly without substantiating that statement, so that as we proceed with the sitting, we are well alive to issues that remains unparliamentary and we don't repeat the same as we proceed. Thank you very much. I'm now proceeding to the next speaker, Honorable Brett from Freedom Front Plus.
Welcome back, Chairperson. 'n Basiese Google soektog bevestig dat hierdie departement, of althans sy minister, nie tans die belange van Suid-Afrika op die hart dra nie. Die kollektiewe stem van jeugorganisasies, die ANC se eie SASCO, eis haar afdanking. CETAs are already in trouble, but the minister's controversial decision to appoint politically connected people to chair the boards of CETA was not the smartest move. We must do what is right for the country as a whole, not just what is good for the ANC and the political elite they serve. Maar soos hulle sê, tyd sal leer of die president in belang van Suid-Afrika of die ANC gaan optree. The truth is that decades of ANC corruption and cadre deployment have crippled even some of the most basic skills development programs. CETAs are no exception. We learned from an AGSA report in 2022 that over 2.5 billion rand was lost to non-existent or ghost skills development projects and institutions that have never existed. And recently it was reported that NSFAS paid more than 1.3 billion rand to 4 IT companies for an online portal for student accommodation and later to disburse payments. Companies that were not accredited financial service providers and according to the reports, and I quote, did shoddy work in the initial portal work they were contracted for. This was now left NSFAS receiving students with a major housing crisis and now a housing tribunal meeting that will cost how many millions? It needs to be held to try and address these issues. Hierdie is wel 'n debat op hoër onderwys, maar ek wil tog stil staan op NSFAS en ons sal fouteer as ons nie sy uitdagings eerlik noem nie. Die NSFAS skema is geskep om verdienende studente wat dit nie kan bekostig om verder te gaan studeer nie, by te staan. Maar al wat NSFAS tot op hede gedoen het, was om hierdie studente aan hulle eie genade oor te laat. Om te studeer en goeie punte te kry om jou beurs te behou, is stresvol genoeg. Maar dan moet jy nog bekommer oor of jou klasgelde betaal gaan word, of jy gaan kan kos koop vir vanaand, of jy 'n dak oor jou kop gaan hê, vanaand, volgende week, of selfs volgende maand. Last year, I quoted an article by Nobuhle Nkabane, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It was regarding NSFAS. I was hoping that it would not still bode true today, but it does, and I unfortunately quote it again. Opportunism and greed have permeated NSFAS at both administrative and governance levels. The sacred responsibility to act in the best interest of the many has been superseded by the narrow and selfish interests of a few. The appointment of direct payment service providers, the so-called fintech companies, was neither necessary nor desirable. By virtue of the number of beneficiaries involved and the profile of families directly affected by NSFAS funding, when something goes wrong with payments to students, institutions of higher learning, or auxiliary support services such as transportation and accommodation, the impact is not negligible. But let's turn back to the budget. In the 2025 MTEF baseline, it includes reductions and inclusions, but the net change to the budget vote baseline is a decrease, which is worrying. Post-school education and training budget has an annual average increase of 4.4 over the MTEF, which is good, and it is welcomed, Minister, that you said vocational training needs to be prioritized, but the bulk of institutional funding, over 60% of that, still goes to traditional forms of universities, with funding to TVETs and even worse, CTs, standing at a measly 2.2%. In a country with an immense skills deficit and unemployment rate, we need to prioritize scarce skills, and we need to focus on vocational training. As I conclude, higher education has been marred by problems for many years. This department needs to get back to the drawing board very soon. If not, fees must fall would have been the least of their problems. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Briet. We are now proceeding to the next speaker, Honorable MEC for Education in Mpumalanga, Honorable Dlamini. She will be joining in from the virtual platform.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson of the NCOP. My greetings to yourself. My greetings to the Honorable Minister Nkabane, to the Honorable members on the platform. Honorable Chairperson, we rise as Mpumalanga to support the progressive budget presented by the Honorable Minister of Higher Education, Minister Nkabane, today. We do so because it will support all efforts aimed at empowering students from the poor and previously disadvantaged communities. Failure to do so, Honorable Chairperson, this budget, you are saying that students from the poor communities must not access higher education institutions. This will mean that only those with money will be advantaged to access higher education. Literally meaning that those who are opposed to this budget are saying the doors of higher education must be closed for the poor. The Mpumalanga province, led by the ANC, will not afford to do so, since most students from the province of Mpumalanga fully depends on this budget. Any reasonable person or party will ordinarily raise issues of concerns, but still support the budget, because it is not for the minister or the ministry, but it is the budget for the learners. So opposing the budget, you're not affecting the minister, you are affecting the learners. Remember, the Honorable Minister presented the budget at the backdrop of the Youth Month, which affords us with an opportunity once again appreciate the contribution of young people in the liberation struggle for total people's emancipation. Throughout the Youth Month, we were able to reflect on the active role of the youth in numerous empowerment programs and in advancing the cause of education delivery. The Youth Month theme, skills for the changing world, empowering youth for the meaningful economic participation, resonated very well with our request to create conditions that are favorable for our learners and youth to strive. Indeed, the youth needs to be supported to gear up for greatness and to take advantage of the quality education delivery and skills development programs which are on offer. We also do so fully honored by the mandate entrusted to us to advance and lead the cause of the quality education delivery in our province. This mandate is clearly pronounced in the African National Congress, ANC, Manifesto 2024 election, which envision a multi-tiered, skills-driven education transformation, enhancing early childhood education, boosting literacy and numeracy. In advocate for modernizing digital and vocational learning, expanding access to post-school and adult education, and improving school infrastructure and student support. Of significance is that it emphasizes measurable targets, accountability framework, and alignment with labor market demands. All in all, these mandates and priorities are informed by the dictates of the Freedom Charter, which declared that the doors of learning and culture shall be open to all. So as ANC, we can't afford not to approve this budget to achieve these dictates of the Freedom Charter. The reality is that our country, under the leadership of the African National Congress, specifically in our province, has made progressive strides in basic education, particularly for African children of working class and the poor. The pro-poor efforts that are pioneered by the department, which intends to realize the said priorities as well as the ethos of the Freedom Charter, includes but not limited to. Honorable Chairperson, Mpumalanga Province, in trying to ensure that we have children that are going to higher education, we have 87% of public ordinary schools in Mpumalanga Province to be a no-fee paying schools, ensuring that every teacher in front of a classroom is professionally qualified. This was evident when the class of 2024 registered an impressive 84.99 pass rate in this province. This meant that out of 64,201 learners who wrote the 2024 NSC examination, 54,567 passed with a 37,885 learners, which is 43.4% obtaining bachelor pass requirements. These are the learners who by now must be accessing higher education and training. Chairperson, we will never stop to congratulate and appreciate the Department of Higher Education led by Minister Ngabane for establishing the state-of-art university in Mpumalanga Province, which was built by the democratic government, of course, led by the ANC. We therefore call upon all young people to take full advantage of the University of Mpumalanga, celebrated its first PhD graduate and stand, PhD graduate, which is ready to welcome more students shaped by our progressive basic education system. Honorable Minister, having said that, just in Mpumalanga Province alone, has more than 37,000 students who obtained the bachelor pass rate. They will need to go to higher education. This suggests that we need more capacity to have those learners accepted in higher education. In this context, we fully support the mandate of the ANC to expand vocational and technical subjects in schools, build additional TVET and community colleges. This will go a long way to strengthen post-school education via better and improved quality access. The department is making efforts to ensure that there must be at least one technical high school in each of the 71 circuits within the province. Equally, we are joining the people of Mpumalanga that the Department of Higher Education and Training must consider more to move with the necessary speed to increase the number of TVET colleges, especially in municipalities such as Mkondo, Tembisile Hani, and Victor Kanye, which have no form of higher education and training at all. Based on this achievement, this year, the department made it mandatory that all schools and learners in all grades perform within the 90% pass rate bracket in all grades. To ensure that this is not a pipe dream, the department has convened accountability sessions in March 2025 and in the past 2 weeks with all circuit managers. There are winter schools also, vacations, where classes are accommodating learners to learn from the best teachers and share with the best learners in order to ensure that we achieve the target that we have put ourselves as a province. This is part of the comprehensive 2025-26 learner performance improvement plan. Equally, the province, through the 3-stream model of focus schools, has 101 secondary schools where pure mathematics, physical science, and accounting subjects are compulsory for all learners. Our province also boasts of 23 agricultural schools. As you know that our province is more agricultural, so we have 23 agricultural schools, secondary schools, and 45 technical high school. The department has also established the first secondary school of art, which is named in the honor of the late renowned musician or musical icon Lucky Dube at Msuwaluka local municipality. Plans are at the advanced stage to establish the mining school or schools of sport and schools of sports excellent in our province. These schools are key to support learners to take careers of their choices without
Honorable Zamini. Honorable
Yes,
Zamini, your time is up. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We are now proceeding to Honorable Duplessis, representing the Democratic Alliance.
Good afternoon, Honourable Chair, Minister, members and fellow South Africans. From the earliest marks of human thought to modern breakthroughs, South African history is carved with an indisputable intelligence, innovation and resilience. The earliest artifact found on Earth that points towards human using instruments for counting, for mathematics, was found in the Limpopo Mountains between South Africa and Swaziland. In Stilbaai, the ancient fish traps built by the strandlopers show an in-depth knowledge of tides, seasons, and migratory patterns, evidence of early climatology and applied science. It is in the cradle of humankind that we stood up almost 3 million years ago to fight against the elements and build modern civilization. In more recent history, we have shaped international art, international music movements, and we have changed the face of medicine with the first successful heart transplant. We have led the world in justice and reconciliation with voices of giants like Archbishop Desmond Tutu and poets like Breiten Breitenbach and Oswald Mchali, showing that empowerment through knowledge is not a new idea. It is an ancient truth. Yet, there is a truth that we need to confront. The undeniable and immeasurable impact of our recent history that robbed generations of young people of their hopes, their futures, their dreams, and their self-worth is not being addressed. It is being repeated. Of the 5 million young people aged between 18 and 25 in South Africa, only 1.7 million are enrolled in institutions of higher education. This includes universities and TVET colleges. This means more than half of our youth are locked out of opportunity, not due to lack of ability, but because of a system of corruption that continues to fail them. This does not include the youth excluded over the past 30 years. Twice this term, I asked the minister whether she will turn the ship around to focus on the future of the youth and break the cycle of corruption. Both times the minister answered yes, but the reality tells a different story. It tells us of a minister that has misled this house. Under Minister Mkambane, the ongoing chaos at NSFAS, the well-documented infrastructure dilapidation at universities and TVET colleges, the inhumane conditions of student accommodation and leadership paralysis in CETAs has not been addressed, and they tell a different story. Students being defunded mid-year is not a rumor. Dormitories with no electricity is not an isolated event. Maladministration in CETA with learners waiting for years to receive certificates of completion, keeping them locked out of opportunity, is not an exaggeration. But when we raise concerns about CETAs in the Select Committee, the department accuses us of being led or misled by the media. We do not rely on sugar-coated reports that hide the depth of maladministration, corruption, and fraud. There is a Shona proverb, knowledge is a garden. If it is not cultivated, it cannot be harvested. The department is failing to cultivate knowledge, to cultivate our future. The DA does not only believe in the potential of all young people. We take action. We engage, we listen, and we push for data-driven, people-informed interventions. And our impact and our input is grounded in what we see and what we hear on the ground. From students, parents, lecturers, and employees. It is not from headlines. Therefore, Deputy Minister Gondwe has spearheaded several initiatives, including the department's help desk that has handled nearly 25,000 queries with an 89% resolution rate. A crackdown on bogus colleges is underway through interdepartmental cooperation involving SAPS, Home Affairs, Labour, the Hawks, and MPA. A campus safety initiative has been launched with the Commission of Gender Equality and Health, robust oversight in 9 provinces that focuses on the challenges of TVET and community colleges, a signed MOU with Old Mutual to support students, with ShopRite, Microsoft, Takealot, and Lenovo all in the pipeline. Also, Goldfields built 500 houses for students through a public-private partnership, and further practical steps that bridge the gap between graduation and employment negotiated by the Deputy Minister is the KZN Public Works Department under the leadership of MEC Martin Meyer committed to hiring qualified TVET artisans and requiring contractors to do the same. And there is a negotiation to have a MOU in Itlangzeni TVET College and with the municipalities of Mkumasi and Mbombela to absorb qualified graduates into local government. But these interventions are not the system. More than 90% of the department's budget is transferred to entities. Yet, there is limited and weak oversight. Performance is poorly tracked, and outcomes do not match investment. We've repeatedly warned that CETAs must be monitored more closely with proper accountability for underperformance, and they must deliver relevant skills, real certificates, and actual pathways to jobs. Currently, their lack of return on investment is indefensible. We need a budget that builds futures, closes the gap between learning and employment, and offers hope to young people. But under Minister Nkambane, this budget fails to spend effectively. It fails to address structural barriers, and it fails to transform inherited inequalities into real opportunities. And most damning of all, it fails to account for the corrosive impact of corruption. Corruption diverts resources that is meant for redress. It not only steals money, but it steals the dignity of young people. It steals their futures. Therefore, we cannot support this budget under the current minister. In a space where we should be investing in tomorrow's leaders, in tomorrow's thinkers, in tomorrow's musicians and sportsmen and women, there is no room for corruption. This is not a political point. It is a human point. I think.
Well.
We are now proceeding to the next speaker on my list, which is Honorable Baines from the African National Congress. Over to you.
Honorable Chairperson, august members of this House, distinguished guests, and all citizens observing this debate online, I greet you all. Chairperson, a famous writer, Sidney, once wrote, "The whole purpose of education is to turn mirrors into windows." And that is precisely what the African National Congress currently is doing. Therefore, today we rise not merely to support the budget, but to reaffirm a generational commitment between the democratic state and its young people, present and future. As the governing movement, the ANC National Congress stands firm in the belief that higher education must not only serve today's youth, but also lay the foundation for future generations. It must empower, uplift, and equip them to lead South Africa into a just and inclusive and prosperous future. Honorable Chairperson, this budget, Vote 17, is not only about funding institutions, but also about defending the future of the next generation. Across our campuses, mental health is in crisis. Depression, anxiety, isolation, and financial strain are no longer personal burdens, they are political priorities. Hence, the caring African National Congress does not view student support as charity. It is an obligation of a caring developmental state. During the 55th National Conference, the ANC reaffirmed that education and health must be prioritized as the core elements of social transformation and resolved to intensify the transformation of tertiary education, especially in colleges and universities. These resolutions compel us to ensure institutional accountability, sustained investment in student wellness, and inclusive performance-based budgeting. And indeed, this budget reflects that commitment, recognizing that transforming our post-school education sector is vital to securing a just and equitable future for all South Africans. Chairperson, we welcome the allocation of 29.714 million rand towards higher education and the training of 10,000 students and staff annually through the Civic Education and Health Skills Program. But let us be clear, these numbers must deliver real, life-saving outcomes. Institutions must be equipped with more counselors, well-resourced wellness programs, and robust mental health infrastructure. This is not just a budget line. It is a line of defense for student dignity and success. We also note with strong support the pending memorandum of understanding between the department and Higher Health. This MOU must not be symbolic. It must be a tool of accountability, binding all parties to real targets, real timelines, and real impact. It must ensure that no student battles mental illness alone. Again, Chairperson, the mental health crisis is not the only threat facing our campuses. We cannot fund books while students continue to bleed. The senseless killing of Sizonke, Polekwa, and Sainutemba, Pambani at the Walter Sisulu University stands as a chilling reminder that our campuses remain unsafe spaces for learning. Therefore, the ANC insists on a comprehensive national campus safety plan. This must incorporate ongoing safety assessments, rigorous enforcement of gun-free zones, the deployment of advanced CCTV technology, the presence of trained safety marshals on campuses, and strong collaboration among the Department of Higher Education, SEPs, local authorities, and student leaders. This funding is not about fulfilling bureaucratic requirements. It is about safeguarding lives, upholding student dignity, and ensuring a secure environment where every student can focus on their studies without fear. The commitment to the safety and well-being of our youth is absolute and non-negotiable. Chairperson, the NSFAS remains a cornerstone of the ANC's commitment to economic redress, opening the doors of learning for the children of domestic workers, farm laborers, and the unemployment. While we acknowledge the frustrations of recent delays, poor communication, and administrative hurdles, the newly appointed NSFAS board and the department must urgently address these challenges. We also call for the decentralization of NSFAS operations to improve responsiveness and efficiency. Our students, according to me, deserve nothing less. The introduction of the comprehensive student funding model is a bold and transformative step. It begins to close the gap for the missing middle and lays the foundation for a truly inclusive and sustainable funding system that reflects the ANC's commitment to social justice. The Deputy Minister, Bhuti Manamela, recently reported significant progress in this August House, with NSFAS already surpassing its initial targets for the 2025 academic year. Millions of students are enrolled across universities, TVET, and community education training institutions, demonstrating the ANC's success in expanding access to post-school education. However, we cannot ignore the alarming underperformance in community education training enrollments. This is unacceptable and demands urgent focused intervention. The ANC calls for a bold campaign to make community education and training colleges a more attractive option for our youth and young adults. Our commitment to expanding access and uplifting our youth is non-negotiable. It must be relentless. The driven by innovative strategies that bring community education training colleges into the spotlight they deserve. Honorable Chairperson, we fully support this budget because it goes beyond numbers. It advances the vision of an inclusive, innovative, and just education system. We appreciate the commitment to critical programs and demonstrate the commitment to sustained investment in building capacity, improving facilities, and expanding relevant qualification. This budget funds vital expansions such as the new Tshwane University of Technology campus in Jehani, the Northwest University Mining campus, and 3 new education training colleges that are not symbolic but constitutional imperatives. The ANC government has a proven track record. I would like to repeat it. The ANC government has a proven track record of establishing centers of innovation that drive economic transformation, such as the CSIRs, Advanced Manufacturing Technology Strategy, and the Innovation Hub in Pretoria. These institutions demonstrate our commitment to technology and skills development, pillars essential to the future economy. We must also confront the lived realities of many students in Limpopo, Northern Cape, Eastern Cape, and KwaZulu-Natal who endure long unsafe commutes or are deterred by inadequate accommodation. This budget must prioritize safe, affordable, and dignified student housing, particularly for rural and Tibet students, to truly enable access and success. Honorable Chairperson, central to this transformation is our emphasis on math, science, and technology. We are scaling up foundation course, upgrading science labs, recruiting qualified MST lecturers, and funding STEM-focused bridging programs through NSFAS. This budget vote, Chairperson, is not merely a fiscal instrument. It is a call to action, a mandate to build on hard-won gains, confront our shortfalls, and deliver on the promise of a just, inclusive, and empowered future. Our painful legacy of Bantu education, Chairperson, and structural inequality compels us to pursue redress not as a matter of benevolence, but as a matter of justice. Every rand in this budget, Chairperson, must dismantle exclusion. Every program must narrow the divides between rural and urban, the poor and the privileged, and between black and white. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Baines. We are now proceeding to Honorable Farmer, representing Patriotic Alliance.
Welcome back, Honorable Chairperson. We appreciate your good health and good spirits. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, I greet you in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, the living God, without whom all our efforts will be in vain. It is both a privilege and a responsibility to rise today on behalf of the Patriotic Alliance to participate in this debate. This vote is not just about the numbers on a page. It is about the future of our youth. It is about social justice. And it is about correcting the long-standing inequalities that persist in the higher education landscape of our country. Increased allocation to this budget It is about the future of our youth. It is about social justice, Chairperson, while we acknowledge and welcome the increased allocation to this budget vote, we must be honest and ask, are we doing enough to make higher education not only accessible, but also meaningful and relevant for the South African economy and our communities? Far too many of our young people, especially in rural areas and townships, still face so many barriers to accessing tertiary education. Whether it is due to financial exclusion, lack of infrastructure, or poor foundational education, the system continues to fail the very youth it claims to empower. The National Student Financial Aid Scheme was meant to be the great equalizer, but instead, it is flawed by administrative chaos, delayed payments, and a lack of accountability. Students at TVET colleges go for months without allowances, and university students are often left in uncertainty about their funding status. How can we expect academic performance to flourish with such a void in the system? Chairperson, the Patriotic Alliance calls for full forensic audit into NSFAS. We want to see the officials who have turned this critical institution into a breeding ground for corruption held accountable. Equally, we call for greater investment in vocational education. Our economy needs more artisans, engineers, healthcare technicians, and digital specialists. The current system is still too focused on producing degrees with limited employment possibilities. We must diversify and democratize higher education to include practical, industry-linked pathways that address unemployment directly. Further, we must rethink the way universities and TVET colleges engage with communities. Higher education should not be out of reach or disconnected from real life. It must be a driver of local development. Each institution should have a community engagement strategy that empowers students to solve real problems: housing, water access, youth unemployment in the communities they come from. Lastly, Chairperson, we cannot ignore the mental health crisis among students. Depression, anxiety, and suicide are becoming alarmingly common in our institutions. We must reserve funding for students' wellness and counseling services. This is not a luxury, it is a necessity. To conclude, honorable members, let us remember that education is not an expense. It is an investment. But it must be an investment that is ethical, strategic, and inclusive. The Patriotic Alliance supports the intent of Budget Vote 17, but we demand implementation with urgency, transparency, and above all, with heart. Honorable Minister, as much as we support you, Muni Baizani, salute.
Thank you very much, Honorable Farmer. We're now proceeding to the next speaker of the day from United Democratic Movement, Honorable Peter.
Mandibulise sihlalo walendlu. Emveni kwethuba impilo ingavumi sibulele bawukhona inkosi sihlalo. Mandihlobulule isihlunu ukuze kuvele ithambo ndikwazi ukuqongqotha umongo ukuze ndinabele nani. Kwizikumkani zesibini chapter 2 verse 19 to 22 mhle lo mzi kodwa amanzi awo amuncu. Honorable Speaker, ndima kule ndlu namhlanje ndimele umbutho we-UDM. Kuyingxaki nokungahloniphi kule ndlu nakubemi bezwekazi loMzantsi Afrika ukuba eli sebe lezemfundo ephakamileyo lizosixoxisa ngohlahlo lwabiwo-mali kodwa libe lingekafikeleli kwingcambu okanye kuvuthondaba olupheleleyo. Ukusilela ukusandlalela ngokugqibeleleyo ngobume nohlahlo lwabiwo-mali kwanokuthatha uxanduva, kodwa oku ke akusothusi kuba eli sebe lisoloko lijinga kumakhasi onxibelelwano ngokungakhathali nokuba nomkhuba wokwenza into enye elisikizi lokungasebenzi ngendlela eyiyo ngakumbi kweli sebe lezemfundo ephakamileyo. Mandithimlele noogxa bam basentshona ukuze nabo bawuve lo mkhuhlane ndigqiba kuthimlela namhlanje. While the closure of the NSFAS head office in Cape Town may be justified on financial grounds, the UDM proposes that instead of establishing costly regional offices, NSFAS should station in personnel directly at universities and TVET colleges. 1 or 2 existing staff members at each campus can better assist students without inflating the wage bill and rent. The continued use of intermediary and distributing students' allowances must end. Companies like Norako, which lack the capacity and competency to perform this function, are at the heart of the chaos. Students at institutions such as Buffalo City, TVET colleges, and other institutions of higher learning are still struggling to access their funds. NSFAS must assume direct engagement with student and accredited service providers. Ndithi ke sihlalo masiqinisekise ukuba imvano ye-ANC nemvano ye-DA asinawukwazi ukuyingena ngoba xa betyisana iswekile abazi kweli qonga abazosixelela uba iswiti iswekile, kodwa xa betyisana ikhala baza kweli qonga besithi kurharha. Mhlali ngaphambile kulisikizi kwakhona si-UDM sivakalisa into yoba umbutho omkhulu kangako ofana ne-DA angatsho njani ukuthi le budget akayipasisi. Ngobana aba bantwana funeka bangafundi. Thina bantu basemagunyeni aphakamileyo abetha abantwana abafunda kwi-Model C schools, meaning that abaxhaswa ngurhulumente, baxhaswa ziipokotho ze-private companies. Ithi loo nto abetha abantwana mabafunde, iimpula zikajaca mazisale zingenanto. Ngumbutho njani lo uvotelwe ngabantu bonke beli lizwe othi abantu mabangafundisi abantwana babo kuba bengakwazi ukufaka isandla epokothweni? Ngoko ke Speaker, ukulwa kwakho ne-DA nakulwa xa niphambi kwethu asinawukwazi ukuyivumela loo nto ngoba soyikootsotsi baze phaa benqumile bazolwa phambi kwenu kanti bafuna nina ningenelele. Hayi, si-UDM sime kude sithi le budget mayipase kodwa thina masingapeyi. Enkosi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Peterson. We are now proceeding to the next speaker, Honorable Skier Kochal.
Chairperson, members of the NCOP, more importantly, the students of higher education. Now, Chairperson, I might repeat a couple of things because like we have the term of read for meaning, we must do listen for understanding. South Africa has one of the highest unemployment rates in the world. Having a qualification should be a tool out of poverty, not another trapdoor. And yet, under this current Department of Higher Education, too many students are still trapped. The reality is the Department of Higher Education, NSFAS, CETAS, under the guard of the Minister Gumbani, have let our students down. 44.6 million in NSFAS funds at Mateo College in the Free State failed to be distributed to students and is still under investigation. Furthermore, this same campus, since it opened, has 3 residences that can accommodate 375 students, still empty. So students have to commute long distances without reliable payments from this college to get a further education. The collapse of campus infrastructure across our country, unsafe buildings, overcrowded residents, and maintenance backlogs that leaves our students live in squalor while the minister posed for press briefings. The catastrophic failures of NEFSAS. The result, thousands of students still sleeping in libraries, toilets, and open spaces because allowances have not been paid. Honorable Baines, the minister's disgraceful mishandling of the Walter Sisulu University tragedy, where her department issued a statement denying that the murdered student, Sisonke Malabekwa, was registered, only later to admit they haven't verified the facts. A student shot dead, and the department's first instinct was to disown him. The secret CETA selection panel scandal, where Minister Nkumbani appointed boards packed with political loyalists, including the son of Minister Gwedi Mantashe, where Parliament was asked if they were vetted. She refused to disclose the names and told MPs, Google what credible means, and falsely claimed that Advocate Terry Mutau chaired the panel. The minister knowingly factionalized her responses after we've reported her to the Ethics Committee. We've laid a case to the Public Protector, and our third step, today we laid criminal charges against this minister. These are not the failures of today. They are born from patronage, protected by catered deployment, arrogance, and paid for by poor students. Just under a year of the DA's involvement in this ministry, as Honorable Du Plessis has outlined it, Deputy Minister has done that. This is the difference our country demands. Delivery, not delay. Empowerment, not entitlement. Partnerships, not patronage. We don't believe in exclusion. We believe in inclusion that works. That means making sure universities and TVET colleges curriculums match real jobs like solar technicians, coders, welders, and not just paper degrees, but practical tools for employment. We're serious about justice. So let's stop recycling excuses and start delivering futures. This isn't a political agenda. It's a South African one. It's about every student that had a dream but no connection. Every artisan in training sleeping hungry. Every woman needing a campus that's safe and smart. We must commit to outcome-based, digitally enabled, job-linked higher education model. No slogans, no smoke and mirrors, just a smart, clean, responsive government. Because there's one thing that the DA believes above all, that talent is universal, opportunity is not. And our job as lawmakers is to do that. And only a strong minister can achieve this. And Minister Nkumbani is not that and should be fired. Supporting this budget under the management of a compromised, questionable minister is not something that I am comfortable for. Let's make higher education the engine of dignity and not despair. I thank you.
The next speaker on my list is Honorable Mokweli, representing African National Congress.
Ke o leboge modulasetulo, all members of this house, distinguished guests, all citizens watching across the country through visual platform. I greet you all. Ke ishe madume a go ikgetha to our minister, the youngest minister, the youngest energetic minister, that madume a mabotse ke ao, from the permanent delegate of Limpopo. Honorable Chair, we rise today not merely to debate figures, but to reaffirm the bold and historic vision of the African National Congress. This vision sees education not as a charity, but as the constitutional and moral imperative. From the Freedom Charter to the National Development Plan 2030, the ANC has made it clear that education sits at the heart of its economic transformation and inclusive growth. Chair, this budget vote 17 is not a routine exercise like when I was listening to other members speaking. This is a deliberate act of redress. I know the DA here, they start to shiver. This is how we confront structural inequality and rebuild a post-school education system that works for many, not the few. We affirm without hesitation that education and economic development are deeply intertwined. You can't talk o ka se bolele ka thuso ka thuto wa se bolele ka muro wa ka or ka economy or muro wa naga. No nation can claim meaningful progress without first investing in its people, especially its youth. As President Oliver Tambo said, I quote, the children of any nation are its future. A country, a movement, or a person that does not value its youth and children does not deserve its future. Close quotes. This is not merely a code. It is a principle that guides the ANC's approach to governance. This budget, Chair, is not more than numbers on the page, like I was listening to other speakers. It is the moral and strategic commitment to our youth. For too long, young people, especially from the poor and working class background, have been told to wait for opportunities, wait for growth, wait for change, but the time waits for no one. And the youth cannot be left behind while the economy moves forward. Through this budget, the ANC is responding with agency and clarity, Honorable Modise. The ANC is responding with agency and clarity. We are investing in education, skills development, and job creation, not a favor, but as a right. We are not just preparing our young people to participate in the economy. We are empowering them to lead it. Honorable Minister, they are ready. The ANC has given them the power. Therefore, this is about unlocking doors, not in the distant future, but now. The ANC refuses to let the children of the poor remain spectators in the economy that they must own, shape, and drive. We believe that transformation is not complete until every child, regardless of background, has the tool to thrive. We are building a nation where the dreams of our youth are not delayed, they are realized. This budget is our unapologetic step forward. It is how we honor Tambo's legacy, Chair, and how we secure our collective future. But Chair, we must be frank. Significant challenges persist in rural areas, especially institutions like Ingwe, and we had Ingwe Tibet College, Kopantigo Tibet College, and many others continue to grapple with staff shortage, outdated infrastructure, and under-resourced program. These are not abstract problems. They directly impact the future of thousands of young South Africans. But unlike those who merely criticize from the sideline, like those that I was listening, the ANC-led government is acting with purpose, Chair. We are implementing solutions through expanded...
Point of order, Chair.
Honorable Mokwele, can you please take your seat? What is the point of order, Honorable Badenhorst?
Chair, I'm rising on Rule 61, specifically 61B.
So,
you can proceed, Honorable.
Maybe you want to tell the person online to wait for his turn or her turn. Anyway, Chair, thank you very much. I shall proceed. Chair, the honourable member is referring to the ANC-led government. There is no ANC-led government. There's a government of national unity. The ANC hasn't got the majority rule. So he's misleading the House. Please withdraw.
Honorable Badenhorst, the order is not sustained. You can proceed, Honorable Mokwele.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. These are invitees. But, Chair, we are implementing solutions through expanded bursary schemes, targeted recruitment and professional development, because quality education demands quality educators, and that is non-negotiable. A qualified and motivated and supported teacher is the backbone of the thriving education system. That is why our commitment extends from early childhood center to the lecture halls of our university. We are building academic excellence across the higher education sector. A clear target has been set to raise the proportion of university lecture holding doctoral degrees from 53% to 58% by 2025-2026. This is not just a number, it is a mark of seriousness in growing our intellectual capital, advancing research, and ensuring that South African competes globally in knowledge production. Whether it is improving the capacity of rural Tibet College on enhancing the research output of our university, we are investing in full spectrum of education. Our vision is comprehensive to produce not just workers, but thinkers, innovators, and leaders who will define the future of our country. We do not isolate, we do not isolate ourselves. Our minister's visit to China and engagement at the World Vocational and Technical Education Development Conference is a testament to the ANC strategy of global learning for local benefit. We welcome the new all-round strategic cooperative partnership between South Africa and China, which includes strengthening our Tibet system, technical teachers training, and industry integration. Likewise, the Deputy Minister participation in the 12 BRICS Education Minister meeting in Brazil demonstrates how the ANC-led government positioned South Africa as a global education actor. We champion ethical A1 in education, cross-border degree recognition, and expanded Tibet alliance, ensuring our graduates are globally competitive and locally grounded. We are also responding decisively to vulnerability in our research sector. The 1.4 billion USAID withdrawal was a clear wake-up call. Our knowledge economy cannot depend on foreign aid. That is why the ANC continues to strengthen institutions like the National Research Foundation and building domestic research ecosystem, building innovation and background South Africa scholar to lead the global stage. Equally, we support initiatives such as the G20 call for mutual recognition of qualification because our graduates must move with confidence across border into global workplace and back home with knowledge and partnership that drive our development. When South Africa engineering graduates can work on infrastructure project in Kenya, collaborate with renewable energy researcher in Germany, or return from postgraduate study in China to innovate within our own energy sector, that is how global exposure translates into local progress. Through partnership like this, we are not just exporting skills, we are importing experience, ideas, and innovation that fuel our economy and strengthen our institution. Mutual recognition of qualification is the key to unlocking the full potential of graduates and placing South Africa firmly in the global knowledge economy. The ANC-led GNU, Honorable Badenos, we are leading this government. As the discipline, experience, the political will to remain focused on delivery. We will not allow a cent to be wasted. Every allocation must translate into opportunity. Every investment must drive change. Under the ANC leadership, skill development will not stall. It will accelerate. To those who question the ANC's commitment, who cynically dismiss our investment as insufficient or ineffective, I say this to them. We do not govern with empty slogan or hollow promises. We govern with results. We govern with courage. When the rural college struggle, we do not turn a blind eye or run away. We act. When the research funding shrink, we strengthen local system. When global partnership offer opportunity, we seize them. Even when they withdraw funds, we look for alternative. Our record speaks volumes. Some opposition voices will say these efforts are too slow or lack ambition. As I was listening to them, I say to them, transformation is not a race to be won with shortcuts or theoric or matarimponing. It is a marathon of steadfast commitment, strategic investment, tough decision like what the commander-in-chief has taken. The ANC leads with responsibility and vision. We refuse to sacrifice sustainability for showmanship. Honorable members, as I'm just about to conclude, this budget vote is about building capacity. It is about confronting inequality with policy resourcing transformation with action and empowering our people with the tool to rise. The ANC leads, ANC deliver, ANC transform. I thank you.
Giving 3 minutes, please. 3 minutes. What an applause.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chief Whip. We are now proceeding to the last speaker on my list, which is the reply by the Minister of Higher Education, Honorable Ngabane.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson, and I just want to welcome the inputs by honorable members, all of them that actually engaged during this session. One, I just want to indicate that we reaffirm our position as adopted by the Congress of the People on the 26th of June, 1955, where they said the doors of learning and culture shall be open. It's a pity and unfortunate that today we are witnessing some of the honorable members not actually accepting and adopting this budget vote. And those who are actually rejecting the budget are rejecting the transformation of the post-school education and training sector in South Africa. They are not rejecting the budget of Nobuhle Ngabane. This is not the budget of Nobuhle Ngabane, it's the budget of the people of South Africa. Honorable Britt spoke about some of the commitments that the minister has made, in particular around the fintech companies that are more like a middleman, as well as the lease agreement. It's unfortunate again that we find ourselves in this situation. However, it is beyond us. We appealed the outcome of the court as post-school education and training. However, the order of the court that said on the 9th of May 2025, because we're to appeal it, all of us want to root out corruption. We don't want this maladministration. The court just ruled against us to say we want to cut ties with these 4 fintech companies and also to terminate the lease agreement that we have with the building here in the Western Cape that is charging us 2.5 million rates. All of us, we don't want that. We wouldn't appeal it if we want it to stay. We want that 5% to benefit the young people of South Africa to access post-school education and training. It cannot be only us who manage to access post-school education and training. Even the generations and generations to come must be able to access these funds. You know, when you're against transformation, it irritates a lot when you see a young woman leading such a huge ministry in your presence. It's misogyny. I understand it. I know where it is coming from. And worse, when it is a black woman, it becomes irritational.
Order, members, order.
The EFF raised...
Honourable Minister, can you please take your seat?
Oh.
Honourable Mukai, can I remind you of rule number 47? Please do allow the minister an opportunity to express, not only you, but the rest of you. I hear a rowdy noise on my left-hand side as well. Can you be please patient with her? She was seated quietly listening to your plight as you were presenting. Now she wants to reply. You want to deny her an opportunity to do just that. Whether you like it or you don't like her, just be patient. She is responding to what you have raised, and you were raising that not for your own sake, but for the people of South Africa. They're waiting anxiously at home to hear what would minister has to say from what you have been raising. Let us tolerate one another and be patient with one another. We're not going to run this house into a mockery. Please, Honourable Minister.
I just want to comment the issues raised by...
Can you please take your seat, Honourable Minister? What are you raising on, Honourable Billy?
Chairperson, I want to check if the minister is willing to take a question.
Responding to questions now here.
The minister doesn't seem to be happy to take the question. She is responding to questions.
You put it to her.
That's what she said. She has responded. Can you please?
I just wanted to check if she's a...
No. She does not want to take a question, Honourable Billy. What is expected of you to sit down, allow her. She's not prepared to take the question. She has responded.
She's a victim of racism.
Honourable Billy, can you respect the House? We're not going to create a dialogue. She has responded. She doesn't want to take the question. She wants to respond to the questions that have been posed. Over to you, Honourable Minister.
The Honourable from the EFF raised progressive interventions that should be considered, but not supporting the budget is disservice to the people of South Africa. I love those interventions that they've proposed, but the sad part of it is that now they are not supporting the budget. My question is, I'm asking myself, how then are we going to address those issues that have been raised? So, around the issue that has been raised about fruitless and wasteful expenditure for the 2024-2025 financial year, I think the honorable member here missed the point, or it was just an error. This is an irregular expenditure of 0.004.41%. It's not a fruitless and wasteful expenditure. I wish to indicate that as part of, hence I indicated that we appointed a new board of NSFAS that is overseen by the capable hands of a woman, Dr. Karen Stander. They've actually, even including the ministry, all of us, we've adopted a zero tolerance approach to fraud and corruption. That's why you don't see any corruption. Actually, we are rooting it out. And others are very irritated because we're acting now on these issues at NSFAS. Firstly, amongst the priority projects that they've actually adopted is to review organizational design and realignment, the loan management strategy, sustainable funding framework, transitional framework for student accommodation. Hence, all of us, we understand that there are some challenges in that space. And the other issue that they are looking at is ICT assessment and digital transformation strategy, because there is no real alignment with what the universities can provide and TVET. So we want to come up with that holistic ICT infrastructure that is going to speak to each other. And then the other issue that they are looking at is revised business operating model for them to be able to execute their mandate effectively and efficiently.
Honorable Minister, I'm afraid your time is up.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Accordingly, thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for coming to the House and table your and being part of this debate. Honorable members, that being said, we want to take this opportunity and thank you for being part of this important sitting. And I want to personally take this opportunity and thank you for the messages of support that you have conveyed to me during my difficult time. As you can see, I am back in the House with your good self. I really and truly appreciate the support that you have given me during my sick days. Having said that, the meeting stands adjourned today and until the next sitting tomorrow at 2:00. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Speaker.
Good day, Good day. Thank you. We got the mandate.